Just before sunrise, in the stillness of a quiet Washington suburb, the calm was broken. Black SUVs crept down a tree-lined street. Engines low, lights dimmed. Neighbors peeking through curtains saw them. Figures in dark jackets, the unmistakable block letters, FBI. Their target wasn't a drug kingpin, not a shadowy spy, not even a foreign operative. It was John Bolton. Yes, that John Bolton, the man who once stood at the very center of American power, whispering in the ear of presidents, pushing for wars, shaping world policy. A man who had been at the United Nations, at the White House Situation Room, at the heart of decisions that changed nations. But this morning, the hunter had become the hunted. As the FBI entered Bolton's home, they weren't looking for weapons, or money, or evidence of corruption. They were after something far more dangerous: classified documents, secrets, files that should never have left government hands. And the question hanging in the air was chilling. What did John Bolton have that was worth sending in the FBI at dawn? To understand why this raid matters, we need to step back. John Bolton isn't just another Washington insider. He's a figure who, for decades, has been both feared and admired in the highest corridors of power. Born in Baltimore in 1948, Bolton carved his path through Yale University, studying law. But it wasn't the courtroom that drew him. It was politics, ideology, a firm belief that America must always project power and never, ever back down. By the 1980s, Bolton was rising fast in conservative circles. His sharp tongue, unflinching views, and unapologetic defense of American dominance made him a star among the hawkish elite. He argued fiercely against treaties that, in his view, tied America's hands. Arms control, nuclear agreements, Bolton dismissed them as illusions that only emboldened enemies. By 2001, under George W. Bush, Bolton had a front-row seat in the State Department. He played a pivotal role in pushing the narrative that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. And though history later proved otherwise, Bolton never apologized for his role. To him, it was all justified because America had to act first, act hard, and act without hesitation. His reputation was sealed. John Bolton, the hawk, the hardliner, the man who always believed in maximum pressure. Fast forward to 2018. President Donald Trump brought Bolton into the White House as his national security advisor. But the marriage was uneasy from the start. Trump, unpredictable and deal-driven, clashed constantly with Bolton, who favored confrontation over compromise on North Korea, Iran, and Afghanistan. The two men could not have been more different. By 2019, the relationship collapsed. Bolton was out, and soon after, his explosive memoir, The Room Where It Happened, accused Trump of incompetence, corruption, and recklessness. But now, in 2025, Bolton would face accusations of his own. The morning raid was carried out quietly but with precision. Agents arrived at around 6 a.m., serving a federal search warrant. Bolton, according to sources, was cooperative. But cooperation didn't soften the blow. Inside his home, the FBI seized boxes of materials. CNN and BBC reported that at least some of those boxes contained classified documents related to national security, including sensitive details about U.S. strategy in the Middle East and cyber defense programs. This was no routine mistake. This wasn't a misplaced folder or a forgotten binder. These were files that, if mishandled, could put lives at risk, expose intelligence operations, and shift the balance of international relations. And here's the irony. Bolton had long criticized others for mishandling secrets. He blasted Hillary Clinton over her private email server. He accused Trump of being reckless with classified intelligence. And yet now, here he was under scrutiny for the very thing he condemned. The raid raised immediate questions. Why would Bolton, a man so experienced, so steeped in national security, keep classified documents at his home? Was it negligence, pride, or something far more strategic? To grasp the stakes, you need to understand what classified documents really mean. These aren't just papers with stamps. They're the lifeblood of America's intelligence community. Some carry the label confidential, the lowest tier. Others are secret. Then there's top secret, reserved for information so sensitive that its exposure could cause exceptionally grave damage to national security. Within those categories, there's an even tighter level SCI, sensitive compartmented information. That's the kind of data often protected in secure facilities known as SIFs, shielded from prying eyes and even electronic surveillance. The FBI has not publicly confirmed the exact level of classification of Bolton's seized documents, but multiple outlets suggest they touched on U.S. operations against Iran, one of Bolton's lifelong obsessions. If true, this would mean the files weren't just about history, they were about ongoing strategy, and that opens an unsettling possibility. Did Bolton keep these documents for his own use? Perhaps for writing, for influence, for leverage in Washington's endless chess game of power? Or, and this is the question that terrifies intelligence officials, could those secrets have been vulnerable to exposure intentionally or not? News of the raid spread like wildfire. Bolton quickly denied wrongdoing, insisting he had done nothing illegal. His allies called the raid a political hit job, punishment for a man who had spoken out against both Trump and Biden at different points. But for the FBI, politics wasn't the point. It was about control of secrets that were never supposed to leave the government's grip. Washington reacted with predictable division. Republicans who once despised Bolton for betraying Trump now mocked his downfall. Democrats, who had long criticized his hawkish worldview, called the raid proof that no one is above the rules. But behind the noise, intelligence officials whispered their concerns. The fact that someone like Bolton, a man who knew the rules, who lectured others about discipline, had kept classified files suggested a broader, systemic problem. How many others were doing the same? How many secrets were lying in basements, attics, or private libraries, waiting to be discovered? Leaked reports hinted that among the files were not only Iran strategies but also memos on U.S. cyber vulnerabilities, weaknesses that, if revealed, could be exploited by America's adversaries. The implications were staggering, and so the mystery deepens. What exactly did the FBI find? Why did Bolton keep it? And perhaps most importantly, what happens next? Will Bolton face charges? Will the government declassify the contents to justify its actions? Or will those secrets remain buried, locked away from public view, leaving us only with speculation? There's also the question of intent. Did Bolton knowingly keep classified material, or was it an oversight in the chaotic departure from office? Was he protecting history for his memoirs, or did he see these files as tools of influence to play in Washington's ruthless game of survival? For now, the answers remain hidden. But what is clear is that Bolton's reputation, once built on discipline and hawkish resolve, is now under siege. As the FBI carried those boxes into waiting SUVs that morning, they weren't just seizing paper. They were seizing fragments of trust, fragments of a man's legacy, fragments of America's most sensitive secrets. John Bolton, the hardliner, the hawk, the enforcer of secrecy, now finds himself under the microscope. And perhaps the most haunting question of all is not what he kept, but why. Because in Washington, secrets are currency. They buy power, they buy silence, they buy survival. But secrets were also destroyed. And in the end, it may not be Bolton's enemies, but the very secrets he held on to that bring him down.